So Taz's Titantron, and like they changed this over the years when he had more of a WWF content to put on the Tron when he entered. But of course, that Royal Rumble entrance, when you see like Taz standing with his arms folded, and then all these other Tazes emerging from him walking around, and it looks awesome. But I can't stop laughing when I watch it because I just can't stop but think about what it would have been like to film that. This deadly serious guy having to walk around in front of a green screen in a few circles. And maybe just Bruce Pritchard in the background going, "Yeah, Peter, could you just do another few loops?" He's like, "Okay, I'm going to survive because I'm going to let me."
No, but I don't know if it's a green screen, but it looks like he's in one of his car parks, like from WWF Hardcore.
It's the Buchanan Galleries section of Brooklyn, New York. That's what it is.
The Red Hook section of Buchanan Galleries.
But the reason they can't film there all the time is because they've got a terrible infestation of Tazes. There's just so many of them walking about since that video, and the reproduction hasn't stopped. So that's why the current reason that Buchanan Galleries is shut has nothing to do with this pandemic, Chris.
No,
and it has everything to do with the infestation of Tazes. There's just 100 little men from Brooklyn wandering about aimlessly in a circle of a stony face.
Well, listen, worse things could have happened to that shopping centre, and Taz is not one of them, so it's fine. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wrestling Connection podcast. We are here for another week. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are around the world, and however you are listening to this episode, we greatly appreciate you. And who are we? I am Chris. I am one half of your tag team hosts of the show, and I'm joined by my good close personal friend Glenn, who's on the other line right now. Glenn, how are you?
I'm really well. I'm also one half of this tag team host arrangement, but because of my impending move from one home to a new home, my wrestling belt is now packed away. Do you know how difficult it is to pack those buggers away? They're not.
How did you do it? Did you just put it in like a suitcase or what?
You have to flat pack them. You have to spread them out in their wee case. There's no hope of I kind of wanted the first time I walked into my new house as a homeowner to be wearing the belt because you feel like a champion in that moment.
Yes.
But no, it'll be packed away for a while. But this room where I record, the study / spare room / gym / recording studio, used to boast a lot of my stuff, but it's a wee bit bare now because we've been starting to clear up and get the place ready to view because our place is going on the market soon. So that's the exciting news I have for this week.
And
what about you?
And you're also standing up recording this episode, which is a wee inside baseball fact.
I am standing up, which is not usual for me, but I just feel like I've become really dependent over the last few days on afternoon naps, and I kind of need to snap out of it, because we're close to August and schools will be back soon. So I can't rely on a siesta every single day of the week.
What a big year this is for you! Starting a new job, moving into a new house. God, it's you're definitely growing up.
Worldwide pandemic, It's been a weird year, and I think for a lot of us, it's been a bit of a write-off, but I'm glad I've got a couple of good things that have happened in my life this year so that 2020 isn't going to be a total shambles, I hope, by the time it's all said and done. But what a weird year in wrestling historically. There's going to be quite a few books and, around this year.
You know how, sometimes when you think back to, a great moment in, a pay-per-view or something, maybe every so often you'll go back and you watch it and you'll be like, oh, that was so good. Yeah. I don't know how many times we're going to go back to Money in the Bank or Extreme Rules or Backlash 2020 and be like, oh, what a great moment. I mean, there's been some really good ones like Edge and Orton and Seth and Drew at Money in the Bank and things like that, but there's not many times where I'm going to be like, I want to go back and watch that pay-per-view because of this or because of that element or to hear the crowd or whatever, because it's impossible,
It's not. I would never go back and watch the full shows. I don't think I'll ever watch WrestleMania 36 again in full, but I will watch obviously the two cinematic matches again. I will watch Rollins and Owens again, and
Charlotte and Rhea Ripley maybe.
To the words right out of my mouth. I will go and watch Orton versus Edge again from Backlash, and so there's a few highlights I'd watch, and there's quite a few things from AEW that I'd go back and watch. A lot of the stuff in Double or Nothing, not just the Canadian Stampede, the Stadium Stampede.
From Calgary, dramatic pause. Alberta,
Storm,
Canada.
Chris Jericho, Test, and Edge versus Christian, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, and give me another Canadian, Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
Jim Neidhart.
Was Jim Neidhart Canadian actually, or was he just part
I
of the
don't
Hart
know.
family?
I think he was just part of the family, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well,
anyway.
close enough.
Yeah. But no, good call. I think AEW have dealt with it the better, I think, and dealt with it the best. This past week I've been watching some Impact Wrestling because they recently had Slammiversary.
I know they're doing well.
Well, listen, it's so nice to see some buzz around the company again. And what's nice about it is that it's totally different from what it used to be. And they've removed, they've been very, very smart about their business. They've kind of had the total reset and they've kind of went, right, okay, no one really cares anyway. Let's just totally drop off the face of the earth for a bit and let's rebuild. So they've removed all of the negativity of what TNA used to be. By the way, I was always a big TNA fan. I always will be. But at the end there, it was a bit of a mess.
Yeah, it was. Those last few years, they had their glory period, which would really be, I would say the glory years would be kind of from their inception up until, I would say like the end of the Aces and Eights angle for me was kind of when it stopped being worth watching.
When they started doing TV in Glasgow, and that was the downfall.
Yeah.
And everyone get food poisoning, remember? So they've kind of taken all the negativity of what TNA could have been, and they have decided, okay, we're now going to completely forget about that. We're going to concentrate on the in-ring stuff. We'll be more of an indie, quote-unquote, promotion and build back up, sign people here and there, and just have like great wrestling matches. So they got people like Pentagon and Phoenix, and they got folk like Santana and Ortiz, and Austin Aries came back, and John Morrison came back, and Brian Cage, and people like that. And then they just built this great roster, this great product, and then people move on and re-sign with other companies and stuff, and that's fine. But then, when that happens, other companies lose wrestlers, and people become available, and free agents become a thing. They sign new people, they get more of a buzz, the buzz continues, and now what they've done is they've kind of created a product where it's not an alternative anymore. It's just another great product to watch, where it's like, well, I shouldn't say it's not an alternative. It's not competition anymore, I should say. It's just another good product that's there. It's not, you don't have to watch it. It's not going to change your life if you watch it or not. But if you want to see some great wrestling and you want to see something different, you can go and watch Impact. And their weekly TV show is really, really good. It's always very consistent. The pay-per-views, I mean, last year, all the pay-per-views in 2019 from Impact were top-notch. So I'm very, very happy they're doing well. What I was going to say was that, AEW have done the thing where they've gotten some of the roster round the barricades, making noise and stuff, and then WWE quickly, followed suit with that. Impact are going the original route and have no one, so it's completely silent. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it is nice to see something different. You know what I mean? Like, so WWE have now got this thing where they have like these people slapping these boards, and it's becoming quite annoying, I think. But Impact is total silence, and I don't love it, but I appreciate the fact you can hear every single strike. You can, you feel more, it feels more gritty, and they need to be more careful in terms of calling spots and stuff, and I admire the art of that. So I really enjoyed Slammiversary, and I'm happy they're getting some buzz again.
Yeah, I've not seen Slammiversary, but I've seen a lot of clips. I'm really happy for like some of the ex-WWE guys who've showed up there, and who'd have thought that Heath Miller, as he is now known, would have such hype in 2020 around him. But good on him, and it'd be cool to see where he goes from here, and a lot of these other former WWE guys, but also just to see guys like Moose,
Moose is great,
and Tommy Dreamer having another lease of life, and it's stuff like they seem to have a good bit of variety. I haven't sat down and watched a full episode of Impact in a very long time. I follow pretty much all of it on YouTube and the various clips that you can see, and that'll be the way I do things for quite a while, folks, until I can afford streaming services again. But I'm just like you. I'm just happy that they're successful, because it got to the point where I was just waiting for them to die. If I'm honest, I just wanted.
I remember there was like a weekend where I kept refreshing Twitter because like Meltzer had reported that there's a good chance WWE are going to buy Impact, and I kept refreshing. I was waiting for the announcement. Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago.
That seemed really plausible, because WWE would still want them for their video library, and
it's good things they could do with the video library. It's crazy.
Absolutely, but isn't it funny how in the noughties WWE were so resistant to even ever acknowledge that TNA ever existed, but now they have a decent working relationship with them over the years. They did the deal with Christian showing up when he was the Intercontinental Champion. That was weird. And they obviously we've seen a lot of like the Impact stuff show up on the network in clip form here and there for various Table of free or documentaries and things like that. So you can tell that I think the day will probably come one day where WWE acquires that video library.
Yeah, I agree.
If they ever do die a death, but I'd like to think that that if that happens, it doesn't mean that TNA has or Impact have died. I would like to think that it means that they've just got maybe a working relationship with the WWE. So,
well, yeah, the company was bought by Anthem Sports, which is a Canadian company, which is multi-million dollars and all that sort of stuff. So it's not as if they're in dire straits anymore. They're still able to offer big contracts to the Good Brothers and EC3 and people like that, who are going to be showing up there soon and who have shown up there by now. So it's not as if they're completely skint like they were when they weren't paying folk. Remember that, like in 2015, 16?
Yeah.
Like AJ showed up on the Stone Cold podcast in 2016, and Stone Cold was like, "So kid, why did you leave Impact?" And AJ was just like, "Well, if you work hard, you should really get paid for it." And it was like, okay, well, there's the issue there. But now it's like an actual company owns Impact, so now they can kind of afford it and stuff. I remember like when before Jericho signed with AEW, and because he's pals with the booker, Don Callis very nearly got him to show up at Bound for Glory. Like Jericho was nearly on TNA or Impact, So it just shows you the money's there, the buzz is there, and now they've got, they're building up this great roster. The North, great tag team. The Motorcycle Machine Guns just came back. They've got this incredible women's division with Jordan Grace and Taya Valkyrie and Deonna Purrazzo and these great wrestlers. So I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from here. And the fact they've got good bookers now and good writers and that sort of thing, it's no longer TNA. And I don't want to say that's a good thing because I was a big TNA fan, but it's nice to get that negative stigma out of the way. So good for them.
But they're also they still like to kind of allude to it and hold on to it with the stuff they're doing with Moose and that title, and
that's like a character thing,
and the retro stuff that they've that they can still do the kind of retro TNA Impact, like different shaped ring. How many sides was it? 6-sided ring.
Yeah, 6-sided ring. Yeah.
They can still hark back to that and do their own versions of old school. And that would be cool as well. And I'd like to think that down the line when they can have audiences, that they do like an old school 6-sided ring Impact, and like Angle shows up for like an interference bit or something like that. Something that would be cool. Like Sting and Angle I think are free agents right now, so that'd be cool to see.
Yeah. So that's kind of been taking up a lot of my week, watching a bunch of different styles of wrestling. What about you? What have you been up to this week? I know you've probably not been watching much wrestling, but what else has been going on?
Well, I've caught up with a bit of I've been watching a wee bit more this week, but I went round to my good friend Robert's the other day, and we caught up with Extreme Rules because I realised that my network subscription is still active for a couple more weeks, so that's good. So managed to watch Extreme Rules, and I've just been, like I say, following Impact. That's been most of my wrestling consumption. I did watch the bonus episode of The Last Ride. Have you seen that?
Oh yes, yeah, I did, yeah.
Which was pretty cool, pretty funny. Some nice artwork that they threw in that for The Undertaker, telling various stories from his many years on the road. It's kind of standalone. You kind of feel like it's almost like a soft pilot that they might launch a Tales from the Dead Man series on Netflix. The network. But no, man, apart from that, most of my last few days has been working because I'm doing a bit of summer work for school. And getting ready for the big move, getting the flat in order. So I feel like I've been doing a lot of adulting and a bit of gaming here and there, but it's mainly kind of a very, very grown-up presence, I feel right now.
This upcoming weekend, me and a couple of my mates are going to have a retro game night sort of thing. We're going to play some GM mode, which is going to be a lot of fun. I've not played it in a long, long time. I've watched along with Xavier Woods and Tyler Breeze on the Up Up Down Down YouTube channel, and I loved that series when they did GM mode.
Channel.
So we're going to do that this coming weekend, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I was going to say something. Oh yeah, so in terms of the Tales from the Dead Man thing, it's really petty of me to say this, but do you know what's bothered me? And I'm sure it's not because, Undertaker's been hit over the head with about 6 million steel chairs in his career and stuff, but he keeps referring to the plane ride from hell being in 2001 when he nearly lost his ear. I don't know if you remember this.
See, he's confusing two different things.
He's confused it all. Yeah. I'm sitting there going, it's not the plane ride from hell. because plane ride hell was 2002. Everyone knows this. But I do think he did. Obviously, we know he had that nasty injury at Insurrection. And here's another thing. Talk about what I've been doing in wrestling. My good friend Robert that I mentioned every now and then on this podcast.
we were watching that Tales. Yeah, I know. We were watching that Tales from the Dead man at his house, and he was just like, "Yep, I was at that one." And then he's got this. He said he can't remember what he's been to and what he's not. So he dug out all of his programs from all these shows.
Oh my God!
And there's like literally every rebellion he was at, and various insurrections. No Mercy. You know how they did 2 No Mercies in '99, and the first one was in the UK. He was at that, and there was a couple of WCW shows in there as well. And it's like, I can't remember any of this. And I'm thinking, you can't remember any of this. No wonder we haven't had you in the bloody podcast. There's no use if you're going to come on and say, I don't remember.
So what was it like when you saw Hogan and Sting? Don't know.
It's fine. It was all right.
Nah, don't be daft. Hogan and Sting wouldn't tour with WCW. Who am I kidding? But right before we jumped on the podcast here today, I was actually watching Capital Carnage 1998, which is from London. And it's main evented with a Fatal 4-Way match. He was probably at that one as well. And oh my God, air horns galore. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. X-Pac. It's
X-Pac.
X-Pac. It's mental, but like I don't know if it's just because it's like a smaller arena, but like anytime there's like momentum building, the camera shakes and it looks mental. It's a nice wee effect. I think, imagine, you know, when wrestling was at its peak in the late 90s and early 2000s, you can attest to this because you were there. But when they would come over to the UK, you can imagine that being like an actual like event, like a big moment for those people in attendance. Because, you know, we still don't get it very often now, but we can just access everything so easily now. Back then, it was probably really, really special seeing that live, you know?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. And it was. And I still look forward to us doing a watch along. I think that would be a good show to do watch along, not just because of the fact that I was there, but also because it's not actually the best show.
Yeah, totally.
You can talk over it and do your segments and stuff, and then, you know, really tune in with the good bits. Isn't there a podcast called Good Bit?
Well, you know what? It is. I've been talking about it this week. The Good Bit podcast is my secondary podcast, which I've not done an episode since February or something. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like I like to get people in the same room, but then it's like ever since the start of lockdown, we've now discovered this method of doing the podcast, and it seems to be a lot easier. And it's proven to be a lot easier because here we've been for 16 weeks in a row, you know, putting out this podcast. So
is this episode 16?
Or, as we were going to call it, the Wrestling Connection 2000.
Yes. California!
California! So, quick story about that song. So it says it's called California, isn't it? Right?
Yep.
It's called California, but it's like a remix of Teddy Long's theme song, right?
Yeah.
So, when I was younger, one of the first DVDs I ever bought was WrestleMania 2000, right? So, this is when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I'm buying this. It's ridiculous. And it's got that hardcore battle royal on it, and everyone's just bleeding everywhere. I really shouldn't have had this DVD.
Nope.
But in the menu, it just plays that song. And I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I never really heard lyrics in songs. I would just kind of sing along what I thought it said, you know, especially wrestling songs. Mm-hmm. So the song goes, hey, 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 ooh, California, right? I thought it said, ooh, and McFoley, right?
That's what Linda McMahon said. She said, it's no longer going to be a triple threat. It will be the Big Show versus The Rock versus Triple H. Hey, 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 ooh, and McFoley.
Or I thought it said, and the Foley. Like, we're not sure which Foley it's going to be. And the Foley. It could be his wife, his son that was in Beyond the Mat.
No,
I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
And the Foley. So I was gobsmacked because I didn't know it said California. But anyway, where was I going with that?
I don't know.
Where was I going with that?
Song lyrics?
Oh yeah, I was talking about the good. Oh yeah, there's a good segue. But I was talking about the good bit. Yeah, I've been in contact with my co-hosts. We're thinking about changing up the format a little bit. So if anybody's out there who's just a fan of my podcasts, we're going to get back to the good bit at some point. So, and speaking of fan of my podcasts, I have tried to do a bit of extra work on the Wrestling Connection YouTube channel. I'm going to start posting some like wrestling discussions, current wrestling stuff on there every so often, just to maybe try and get some subscribers and stuff on there. I just bought a new light for YouTube. It's called a ring light, by the way, not a wrestling ring light. It's actually a ring for putting on makeup and stuff. I'm going to use it for the videos, so I'm going to do that. So maybe I'll use some ring light techniques for the Wrestling Connection YouTube channel. So go check out. I've got a Slammiversary review on there. I did a match reaction to the Swamp Fight from Extreme Rules. So if anybody wants to see that, and I've been posting some star ratings of the matches and stuff on there too. So, and of course, individual excerpts from these episodes and the episodes in full if you were a YouTube podcast listener. But you mentioned song lyrics there, my friend.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, you beautifully read the Raw is War theme song lyrics to us, Thorn in Your Eye. And it was a magical moment. It really moved me. And we said what we should try and do for next week is we should try and get, another wrestling song and do a dramatic reading of the lyrics. And we forgot. So here we are 2 episodes later, and let's do it now.
Question. First of all, we don't have a jingle for this yet.
No, we don't.
Second of all, we haven't really checked with each other. What if we picked the same song?
Pick the same song?
What if we have?
Well, then that's going to be embarrassing.
I can find a backup one. We don't know.
I don't want to know your song.
All right, okay. Right. I mean, mine's going to be fairly obvious. Mine will be fairly obvious if I start off with the actual first word, so I might skip a couple of lines so it's less obvious.
Okay. Right, on you go. Take it away. Ladies and gentlemen, Glenn Fraser of the Wrestling Connection podcast. Here we go.
Here we go. Bring your name. We can hold peace. Here we go. Bring your name. On the go, freaking pull the line and go for the high school sock hop. Give it up. Because you and I know conceit to fall and parasol. Because here we go. We can hold the peace. Yo. Here we go. Bring your name on the go. Freaking here we go. Bring your name on the go. Freaking for a jack off. You can go. Here we go. Bring your name on the go. Give it in. Here we are again. Give it in. Here we are again. Give it up, cause you and I know conceit to fall on parasol. Cause here we go. We can hold peace. Yo, here we go. Bring your name on the go. Freaking here we go. Bring your name on the go. Test. Give it in. This is a test. 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 This is a test.
Is that really the lyrics? I'm disappointed.
I know. Well, this is from the very reliable letsingit.com. So.
Nice, okay. I'm not going to lie. It took me ages to figure out which theme song that was.
I mean, I couldn't open up with test. This is a test.
Well, okay. Very good. Thank you very much, Glenn.
Folks, if you didn't know, that was Test's theme tune. For further reference, go back a couple of weeks on the Wrestling Connection. Chris very lovingly put it in at the end of the show for us.
What I love about that, though, is we were talking about it before we started recording. We just mentioned it once at the end, and I just played the whole song.
I've fallen in love with it. It's brilliant.
It's good, isn't it?
Here we go on the parasol. Brilliant.
It's really good. Listen,
I don't know. Is that actually the lyrics, or has somebody actually just tried to guess in the way that, ooh, a Foley?
And the Foley. Listen, Jim Johnson wrote some spectacular lyrics, but I don't know about that one.
Yeah. Right, come on, Chris. Try and do me one better.
Okay, you need to introduce me.
Ladies and gentlemen. I can't do finger. On the way. And no, I can't do this.
From the Red Hook section of Brooklyn.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to this afternoon's session of Poets Corner. Here to join us is a young poet from who's from Scotland, and he's a young upstart poet, and here to give us a taste of his most recent postmodernist piece, Mr. Chris Moffat.
Well, it's the big show. It's the big bad show tonight. Oh, baby, come on. Now, get ready for something Something that you've never known. You won't see it coming, but I promise. You'll know. Your time is over. Your time's come around. Hold your head above me. Then I'll plant you in the ground. Yeah. Oh, Mr. Big Show. Gonna burn it down. Oh, yeah, listen now. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's coming. Turn up them lights. Oh, baby, come on. And scene.
Wow. Go. Wow. Okay. I mean, the giveaway was pretty early, but the deliverance was absolutely enlightening. I mean, that was.
Hold your head above me.
I mean, he's the Big Show. That's going to be hard.
Also, he's quite tall, isn't he? So,
isn't that? I mean, that's got to be one of the worst entrances. That just sounds normal now. And I used to just love how the fact that when his Titantron would hit and you get the well, they would put him on the screen as if he was singing it. They would try and make it look as if he was miming to it because it was him with his mouth open. So it was like Paul White going well.
I loved his original one. But then like when they this was the ECW, this was the cool version of Big Show when they changed it in 2006, and I thought it was really cool, and I thought it was Big Show singing. So there you go. But it wasn't.
Yeah, a lot of people thought
that was me singing there.
Did you ever hear his other theme that he had very briefly in 2000?
I did, but I don't remember.
Oh man, it's something to behold because they were bringing out a rap album.
Of course they were.
I'm trying to find it. Aggression, that was it. There, this is it here. It has piano on it. Well, it's the Big Show. Right, that's going to be the next reading that I'm going to do.
Right,
but that it was.
That didn't sound that bad, really.
It's short. The piano freaks me out. The pring, 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 pring. I don't think of Paul White and the piano going together unless he's going to fall on it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh well, there you go. It was beautiful. I really think this should now be a segment, but maybe not every week.
Maybe not every week, but we should do it on the reg because I just love the idea of trying to guess a theme based solely on the questionable lyrics.
Okay, let's do it. But then also, I don't just want lyrics though. I want dramatic, demonstrations of even if it's just tunes. Like even the Shield theme song. You've got the words at the start, but then it just goes dan it, dan it, dan it. Like I'd appreciate that as well.
We can never mind the Buzzcocks.
Just trying in 2013 when I was doing YouTube, as if I don't do YouTube anymore, but back in 2013 on my YouTube channel I did a guess the theme song thing and I didn't sing any lyrics. I just did the whole video and it was just me doing noises like I was doing like Austin Aries' TNA theme and stuff. It was ridiculous. And Jack Swagger's song, oh god, brutal. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Do you want to recommend us a beautiful match this week, my friend?
Yeah. Cue the jingle up, good sir.
Wrestling recommendations, wrestling recommendations, wrestling recommendations. Match of the week.
Oh yeah. I was like waiting for it there, and I realized that you put it in post.
Okay. And it's like, oh yeah, here you go.
I mean, it's like Hayden Christensen tells a story about the first time he was ever on the set for the Attack of the Clones, and he took his lightsaber and they started giving him dirty looks, and he was like, "Oh right, yeah, because you put that in afterwards, don't you?" I mean, that's the worst thing about playing a Jedi. Is like you dream about holding the real lightsaber, but you actually don't get to. You get a stick.
Did you see that moment where John Boyega was watching the Force Awakens trailer for the first time? And he's like, it's like reacting to the trailer, and he sees himself with a lightsaber for the first time, and he falls off his couch.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
I've not seen that reaction. I've seen the one of Daisy Ridley crying at the Force Awakens trailer. I'll need to check that one out.
I love her.
we'll move on.
Anyway.
So she is brilliant. She is really, really good.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Now, match of the week. Match of the week. Now, my match, it's funny because, a couple of weeks back we were talking about Paul Heyman, weren't we?
Yeah,
and Paul Heyman was, of course, famous as being the second in command in World Championship. No, sorry, let me get that right. He was the owner and promoter of ECW following the departure of Todd Gordon. And it is the early days of the Heyman, not the early days, but the prime of the Heyman ECW that I'm coming to now. I'm talking about the first ever ECW pay-per-view, Barely Legal 1997 is where my match comes from. Now, there's a lot of great matches on this card. You've got Taz and Sabu having a grudge match, which had a really, really big build to it. Perry Saturn and his tag team partner, whose name escapes me.
What a great opener. John Cronus.
That's right. Going up against the Dudleys. Rob Van Dam wrestles Lance Storm. Shane Douglas against Pitbull number 2. There's a lot of matches, but we talk a lot about why we fell in love with wrestling. And for me, I've always stuck to this idea that it's the story. But sometimes when people hear that, they think that you mean that you don't love just good wrestling, which doesn't compute to me, because good wrestling to me is wrestling that tells a story without words. That's why if it's done right, I could watch wrestling with no commentary or with foreign language commentary.
Totally.
But if you're telling a logical story, a story which is as old as time, then it's gonna you're gonna get through to people. That's why I love wrestling, is because it's a language that anyone can speak without words. Even though a lot of, as we've just demonstrated, a lot of wrestling's greatest moments can come from great lyrics. But So I wonder if you and I are the same. Like, I've always been familiar with Barely Legal 97 because it's covered in the Beyond the Mat documentary. But the first time I ever saw it was when it came as a bonus disc on the ECW One Night Stand DVD. Do you remember that?
For what 2006? An absolute gem that was. I wrote that on my birthday list for about 5 years in a row. I want this DVD, and I never got it because it was an 18 probably. And I want this because it comes to Barely Legal. I want this because it comes. And then, when I finally got it, I was like, I appreciate Barely Legal more now because of what it means, but at the time when I was younger, I just wanted to see ECW.
Yeah, that was the curiosity for me. So I would have watched that in 2006 because the DVD for One Night Stand 2006 probably came out about 2 or 3 months later in the UK. That was usually how it worked, and so I got it fairly soon afterwards because by that point I was 15, so I was able to earn money from doing various jobs and odds and ends around the house and stuff, so I could save up and buy a wrestling DVD here and there. And I was building up quite a big collection. And so even though I watched One Night Stand first, probably, I was excited to see Barely Legal. And, there's obviously the characters that that you gravitate to. So by that point, I knew Rob Van Dam and Lance Storm and the Dudley Boys. But I'd never really seen much of Sabu. I'd seen clips of him on the Rise and Fall of ECW DVD. But a lot of these guys I was seeing wrestle for the first time. And one match which always sticks out for me is this showcase match, this exhibition 6-man tag, which happens where they have these wrestlers coming in from Japan, and it's just that. It's a showcase match. Correct, I might be wrong here, but I don't think there was really much by the way of a build to this.
No.
It was announced that it was happening, it was promoted, but it was really just, Paul Heyman saw that as an opportunity to give you the full ECW variety show, and everything that you associate with ECW, from excellent technical wrestling to very violent, kind of sloppy, kind of brutal wrestling and comedy and drama. It's all there in Barely Legal. So this match puts off the great Sasuke, Gran Hamada, and Masato Yakushiji. Sorry for that. These are awesome names, but I'm just, and they defeat the Japanese version of the BWO, the Blue World Order. So that's Taka Michinoku, Terry Boy, and Dick Togo. And they go for 16 minutes and 55 seconds, according to this match card I've got in front of me from Wikipedia. But I just remember watching this and being mesmerized. And, as best of my knowledge, most, if not all, of Barely Legal is filmed just in the one hard camera. And so you've just got this fan's perspective of the thing for the whole 60 minutes. And when I watched it, it felt like it went on for much longer. And it's just a great technical, cruiserweight, acrobatic masterpiece of a match. But the funny thing is, Chris, I've never, ever gone back to watch it since I was 15. But I wanted to bring it up as part of this segment. At some point I always knew I was going to talk about this match because it meant a lot to me. It just seemed to be one of the first times that I really appreciated technical wrestling, and there were characters I didn't really know. On the surface it looked pretty daft, like these guys pretending to be the BWO, you know what I mean? But they have an excellent match, and if there was anybody in that smarky Philadelphia crowd who didn't know who some of those guys were or who the Japanese guys were, they were sold on them as stars by the end. The crowd are so hot for it. And one of these days I'm going to go back and watch it, probably within the next 12 days before my network subscription runs out. But because I don't have the DVD anymore. So, so that it just seemed to resonate with me. And that's the thing though. I couldn't, I had to look up the names of the guys in the match. I couldn't remember who was in the match. Yeah. I remember Taka was in the match because he was the one guy that I knew from WWF. But everyone else I didn't know. But the match itself and the movement and the memory and the idea of me as 15 years old sitting alone in my bedroom watching this match on a tiny wee telly, that has stuck with me. And I like how wrestling can do that. It can be a time capsule. I've said it a few times in this show. So I kind of always smile when I think back to that match. And it might, to some, seem like an obscure match. And certainly for us, maybe it is, because we mainly just talk about the mainstream stuff. But it allowed me to appreciate that wrestling is something that knows no language. And wherever in the world you go and see it, you'll be able to follow it and have a good time. Even though they have variations with style, and Japanese wrestling is different to American wrestling, which is different to Mexican, which is different to European, but they're all coming from the same kind of source, the same passion, which is trying to tell a non-verbal story that anybody can buy into.
Nice. I love this choice because we've not had anything ECW and we've not had anything from this generation of ECW, that's kind of right before its peak, I guess. I love Barely Legal, and I actually watched Barely Legal last week.
No way.
Because, I can't believe you mentioned it. Because, I'm a big podcast fan. I like Conrad Thompson's podcasts. And he does a podcast, I mentioned it a few times, with Tony Schiavone, the voice of WCW, called What Happened When, and every Wednesday they post a watch-along of them watching wrestling. And one of the first ones I ever listened to with Tony Schiavone and Conrad was the Barely Legal episode, and they do a watch along. Tony and Conrad watch Barely Legal, and Conrad is like a massive ECW fan. Tony has never seen ECW ever, right?
Wow.
And it's like Conrad's like, I'm going to show you ECW, and they watch Barely Legal together, and the first match is the Dudleys versus the Eliminators. And what was the name of the Eliminators finish again?
Oh, isn't it quite rude?
Total Elimination!
Oh, no, yeah, of course. Sorry.
Total Elimination. And it's Total Elimination, and Joey Styles would scream it, Total Elimination! Which is one of my favourite parts of the match. They have this amazing tag match. It's on for 6 minutes. And then, Rob Van Dam and Lance Storm have this match and stuff. And it's just Tony Schiavone reacting, because he's just, in his head, he's like old school wrestling promoter kind of guy. Yeah, he's like, ECW is all blood and guts and crap wrestling and all that stuff. And he goes back and watches these matches, and he's like, oh my God, this is great. Then it comes to this match, Great Sasuke, Gran Hamada, Masato Yakarabara versus BWO Japan, which is Taka Michinoku, Teddy Boy, and Dick to Go. And my God,
not Togo, as I said.
I believe it's Dick Togo, but Conrad Thompson calls him Dick to Go, and that's much funnier. So, and Tony's like, this match is unbelievable, and it's like Tony Schiavone, like old school wrestler guy, fall in love with ECW, and it's such a beautiful podcast to listen to. And then, of course, the main event is Terry Funk, and of course, Tony's like obviously a big fan of Terry Funk. So, it's a really fun watch and a fun listen. So I'd recommend anybody check it out, and maybe it'd be a good reason to go rewatch the show. But just imagine being in that crowd. Like, imagine how excited you were for this. If you're an ECW fan, you're finally getting on pay-per-view. It's this big, year-long build-up with Taz and Sabu, and, you've been on the WWE, you've been getting promotion on Raw and that sort of thing. Just think how excited and how ready you would have been for this pay-per-view. It would have been amazing.
Because, let's not forget that ECW was still a small regional promotion. It didn't have a national TV deal at this point. And so I just think, imagine you're it's the modern day equivalent of ICW invading Monday Night Raw for the whole world to see, to promote Fear and Loathing, which is really only going to get seen. Well, I mean, it's a bit more global in its reach now, isn't it? But you get my point. That was a big deal for ECW at the time, and I wonder, like, in my mind, this 6-man tag has developed this mythical status. I mean, has it held up well for you when you went to see it again?
Oh, absolutely. It's so fun to watch, and it's one of those tag matches that happens that you think the finish is coming 10 minutes before it does. They just keep kicking out stuff. It's ridiculous. It's such a fun watch. And as you say, there's no real story to the match. It's just two tag teams trying to beat each other. And sometimes that's the beauty of a simple match like that,
It's the simplest story. But like, I want to win, I want to win, and we collide, so anyone can get into that story.
Totally. I unfortunately, obviously, was too young for ECW, so I never really experienced the sort of movement of it, right? The closest thing I can think about is NXT in like 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
Where like it just kind of, for those who don't know, NXT used to be on Sky Sports in the UK, but it was on no other, channel in America. Only really hardcore fans in America could find it, but it was on TV here in the UK. So I would always watch NXT in like 2012 and 2013, seeing like Sami Zayn's debut and Neville and Bo Dallas and Big E and all those guys, and having like JR and Dusty Rhodes be on commentary and stuff, like the original days of NXT, amazing. Not the game show NXT. I mean like the Full Sail NXT. Yeah. It was only on Sky Sports in the UK, so I got to watch it every week. There was like Charlotte and Sasha and Becky and Bayley and all that like debuting, and just an amazing time. And then when it goes on to the network, it starts picking up steam, but still not, as many people are watching NXT as who are watching Raw or whatever, or who are watching NXT nowadays, I should say. It was still a real underground sort of thing. So, from 2012 up until about 2016, 17, NXT was like my brand. Like it was like my show as the kind of late teens, early 20s wrestling fan who is maybe, I'm not speaking of myself here, but like I'm never really bold with Raw and SmackDown, but maybe someone's frustrated with the booking on Raw and SmackDown and wants something a bit different. NXT was for them and for us. And NXT like hit all the special moments in your body. It just it hit all the right spots, and it made you just fall in love with wrestling again, I think, and had these characters and these great wrestling matches, and they'd have these takeovers. So when they did the first takeover in Brooklyn in 2015, like that to me was like barely legal. It was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I'm so excited. I wasn't even there. I was sitting in the house. I was actually, the night of NXT Brooklyn, like the first one in 2015, was my first ever night out in town, being of age, right?
Really? Right, okay.
So I went to some my pal's 21st or 18th or whatever, and we were in town, and I came home at a reasonable hour. And I don't know why I came home so early, but I came home just at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I sat down and I watched NXT right after my first night out, and I got home in time for the pay-per-view.
Excellent. Amazing.
And like, it's such a moment. Like, I watched that pay-per-view back, and it's so special. Like, I can just imagine if you're an ECW fan in 96, and then they announced they're having this global pay-per-view in front of this massive audience, like on pay-per-view, obviously not in the ECW arena, but in 97, you'd be so excited it'd be your show getting showcased. It'd just be amazing, what a feeling.
And they were so fortunate with it, because did they not say on the Rise and Fall DVD that like as soon as it went off the air, the whole power went out in the building?
That's right. Yeah, like they just caught it. It was just such an ECW thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Apologies, that was your segment, and I just went off in this massive rant.
No, I love that. What's your favorite? I think this may be another story for another time. I don't know, but what's your favorite experience of watching a live wrestling show from home?
Oh, good one.
Or at a friend's house, you know what I mean? But not being there, but watching it live.
Oh my God, there's so many. That's a full episode right there.
Yeah.
If only we had time after this, we could maybe do one. God, that's first one that came to mind when you said that was Money in the Bank 2011.
Oh.
Just watching that with Punk, and like I went to bed shaking. I was so excited.
You watched it with Punk? What the hell?
Yeah, no, that would have been weird. He put the title in the fridge and came back and sat and watched the show. But yeah, like that show, just because of the buzz about it, and just because it didn't feel like your usual pay-per-view. We kind of talked about that before, but like all these other matches were happening, all these other matches were cool, like Big Show and Mark Henry, but we're just waiting for that main event match. That was a special one. And then I guess maybe WrestleMania 31 was really special, because everyone was expecting that show to be really bad, and it ended up being one of my favorite WrestleManias ever.
Yeah, totally.
And then the NXT ones are really good, but there's loads. Like even the Royal Rumble this past year in 2020 when Drew won, like that was a special moment. Like I was jumping up and down for joy watching that, you know.
Yeah,
but there's loads of good ones. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, the older I get, the more I watch these things the next day, and I didn't
It
watch
still
the
counts though.
Rumble. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, by that, so the Royal Rumble this year, I did not watch live. I watched it on the couch the next day on my phone, and I jumped up when Edge's music hit. So it's those moments are always lovely when they happen. I remember another time that happened was in the 2013 Royal Rumble when Jericho showed up as a surprise for number
that was
2.
great.
I mean, that was like the fans went mental. That was a really, I didn't really care for Cena winning it, but that was a really good Rumble match.
Rumble.
It was like Goldust and Jericho and everything like that. So, but I mean, there's 2 which come to mind, and both are from 2012, and that's the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. The Royal Rumble because it was the first live pay-per-view I'd watched, I think, actually ever live. I'd never watched a live pay-per-view before. Just DVDs and stuff since then, prior to that rather. And at that point, my pal Jamie and I had been talking about wrestling. Like we worked together at the time. We both worked at McDonald's, and we would talk about it like quite a lot when we worked in the same shifts. But Jamie had been a wrestling fan like in his youth, and had enjoyed the Attitude Era as much as everyone else. But I don't think he'd like consistently watched it. He just kind of caught bits and pieces here and there. Whereas I had been following it, so we thought like we'll order the pay-per-view for Royal Rumble 2012, and we'll watch it. And if it's rubbish, it'll be a laugh, and if it's great, it'll be a good wrestling show. And we had such a blast watching it. And I just remember jumping up when the Road Dogg returned because we hadn't seen him. Well, he'd briefly shown up in Flammies, but we hadn't seen him wrestle as the Road Dogg in so long. And so like I really enjoyed that, and we were chuffed for Sheamus when he won. And then, a few months later with WrestleMania 28, and I've spoken at length on the show before about how much I love End of an Era. And watching that live from my living room on a tiny television was, again, another really special like memory. So those are the 2 that always stick in my mind.
What about Punk when you were in Vegas?
Oh, yeah, that's a really good one, actually. Yeah, it's funny because you say Punk in Vegas, you'd think I was there for the pipe bomb, which we're talking about 2008 when he did the cash in. Yeah, that's funny because it's funny you mentioned that, because when I asked you the question, I was thinking of like being in Scotland and being with friends and having to stay up really late, but then of course I was comfortable in a hotel room watching that. So yeah, that is another really dear one to me as well. But yeah, it's a fun one to talk about because in some ways you can enjoy those just as much, in some cases, if not more, than you would if you were there in the flesh. Totally. Because there's just something about being in the comfort of your own home and having like a more intimate surrounding with you and with wrestling fans who you can talk to without having to shout,
Yeah, totally. Also, I think WrestleMania 21 was the first WrestleMania I ever watched live.
Really?
And I was still really young, so like it was a real novelty for me. Because my cousin Graham was over, who I spoke about in the first episode, was like the guy who got me into wrestling. So he was here and we watched it, and it was the Piper's Pit with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh yeah,
and it's such. I mean, that's such a great show. That's such an underrated WrestleMania. And that's like that was my first one I watched live, and the other one I thought of was WrestleMania 25 with Taker and Michaels, because we talked about that before when we were talking about that match. But like nowadays, people kick out with everybody's finisher. But like then, obviously it happened before, like Rock had kicked out of the stunner and stuff like that. But the level that these two were kicking out of stuff, the timing and just the selling, and after Taker did that big dive and stuff, that was a special one to watch live as well. So just not knowing who was going to win. So
also
that's a great topic.
The tombstone at that point was still a pretty prestigious move, because up to that point only like 3 or 4 people had kicked out of the tombstone by 2009, which is mental. Like you're talking, it was Kane, Edge, Batista had kicked out of it, I think.
Yeah,
but I think
Angle, I don't know.
No, I don't think Angle had. Like the tombstone it was protected for so long, especially because they barely used it for most of the time he was the American Badass. So so to your point, like that just adds to what is already an incredible match, is the fact that was such an unusual thing to see.
Oh, we could talk about wrestling forever, but I'm not going to do that because it's time for a toilet break, my friends.
Toilet break.
Oh yeah. It's Chris, it's Glenn, it's Chris, it's Glenn. Chris, Glenn. The Chris and Glenn Show.
Nice. That could maybe be the new theme song.
Yeah. We'll just, that's what we need, is our own theme song. Like, don't get me wrong. Don't get me Teddy Long, man. I love having like the various
rotation.
WWE themes and the rotation. I think that's cool. But we need our own theme song, and I guarantee you, it might not be for a few more weeks yet. But see, by the time I moved into my house, and here's a nice wee bit of insight for you, Chris. Our house. Our new house, the loft, has been converted into Glenn's new man cave / office / gym / yoga studio /
I was going to say, like, I hope the acoustics are good. You've not bought this house for nothing.
You better believe it. And my point being is that is where we're going to record the new Wrestling Connection theme song. Folks, if you listen to this and you've been listening to us on the reg, 2020 was the year of many things, but it was also the year of this podcast. In 2021, that is my target. We will have our own homegrown theme song by then. Obviously, I will have to beg and plead my amazingly talented and multi-instrumentalist wife to help us. But, she knows a few friends. She knows a few people. This is going to happen, Chris.
I am, not to jump to any conclusions here, but I may have already inquired about this. I sent a message to someone that I know is in a band, and I was like, I need a theme song. Mm-hmm. And they were like, okay, let me work on it, and I'll have it done for you very soon. And then lockdown struck. And then the virus struck, so it's not happened. But the music, I believe, has been put together and it's been written. It has not been recorded or edited yet.
Is it specifically for the show though? Like, is it like
No. It would just be a song. But I guess we can change that as we go.
What do you need when lacking affection? Get your wrist locks on. It's the Wrestling Connection. Ding, ding, ding. Ooh, yeah. That's what it's going to be. It needs to be cheesy, Chris. Okay?
Not bad. Okay, yeah. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, when we can get back to recording stuff, I think. That'll be nice.
Okay.
But I'm looking forward to hearing the beautiful acoustics in this loft.
Yeah, I'll do a wee demo up there next time I'm around. Do you know the other thing? I don't know if I told you about
a demo in there. You're going to go and go, I'll put a little ass on it.
Ass on it. This world is crazy. See, since we did that episode, by the way, Robert has been obsessed with that song.
I would be thankful to come over and see your new place. I'd be thankful for moving on and being as successful as you are at your age. I'm also thankful for another thing, and let's chat about it right now.
What I'm thankful for in wrestling this week.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this week is a pretty neutral one, and I can guarantee that you'll agree with me here, and every single listener will agree with me here. What I'm thankful for this week in wrestling is unique pay-per-view sets. Boom.
Dude, what a good one. You come out with these sometimes, and you come out with ones, and I'm like, why didn't I think of that? That surely we should be something that we spoke about in week 2. This is an obvious one, surely, but we haven't spoken about it at all on the podcast.
No, we haven't at all, which is crazy. I love, nowadays it's very rare when you get like a fancy set, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I come from a background of theatre where like stage design is a big thing, and you need to sit and you need to like. So if I was to arrive at the theatre, I'm going to be performing, and I like to walk about for a bit when there's no one there, and I'll sit in the audience and stuff, and I'll kind of visualise everything. And you need to kind of picture yourself on the set, right? So I guess now, over the past 5 years or whatever, when I watch pay-per-views, it's like one of the main things I think about. Like, I think about, obviously, the matches, the build-ups, the stories, the finishes, that sort of stuff. The things like the music they're going to use, the things the commentators are going to say, the way the show looks, the colours of the ropes and the lights and things like that. And then, of course, the set itself. I really always think about it, and I really take into consideration of how much I enjoy the show. That's why I've been such an admirer of AEW's pay-per-views, because they've all been really different. Revolution back in February, they had like this light-up ramp, and everybody in the crowd wore a wristband. They got wristbands as they walked in. And whoever was coming out, the wristbands would change colour depending on the wrestler. So then brilliant. When they'd have this sort of wide shot of the stage, and everybody in the crowd was like flashing a different colour. Like, it was such an original idea, and you never get that anymore. But then I say anymore because back in the day, honestly, I don't know how much they paid the production design people, but my God, they must have made a fortune, because some of these sets are not only beautiful to look at, but they're so cool, and like they're so and they suit the show, they suit the logo, they suit the colours. Sometimes they even suit the wrestlers. I don't every pay-per-view I can say something good about the set, and obviously now they're all the same and stuff. Even WrestleMania 2019 was another like it's a massive version of the Raw stage. And when I saw it, I was like, okay, cool, it's big and it's a bigger version of the Raw stage. But I was a bit disappointed inside because some of the WrestleMania ones are just ridiculous. And we could literally do a whole episode listing some of the coolest ones ever. But when I say cool pay-per-view sets, what are some of the first ones that come to your mind?
I mean, Invasion, Backlash, WrestleMania 17, WrestleMania 18, WrestleMania 20 for its simplicity.
So good. Oh.
God, I love the TV set. Yeah. Oh yeah. The Brooklyn Bridge. Remember that video with Vince showing it off?
Yeah. That's Statue of Liberty.
Even though it's actually in New Jersey.
What is the obsession with trying to merge states? I don't know.
Oh God! Anyway, so yeah, and even the TV sets, of course, like the SmackDown Ovaltron and the Raw Titantron, and then going into the Ruthless Aggression sets and the Fist and stuff like that. Like those were really, really cool. I mean, what comes to mind when you think about it? There's tons and tons. I've left so many out, but those are the like Backlash is always one of the first ones that comes to me. Comes to mind.
Backlash was my first one I thought of. With the kind of waving, whatever they are. Yeah. What are you are they? Blades or something? I don't know.
Pincers?
Just so cool. Yeah. Hooks. Just so cool, man. Who thought about it? You know what I mean? Who thought about making that? I don't know. Obviously, they've got the logo there, but who thought, see those wee things in the logo? Let's make them swing. Invasion's a great shout. King of the Ring 2001 and 2002, where they had the big chair.
Yeah.
And they'd come out through the chair. So cool. God, there's so many. There's so many good ones. SummerSlam has always used to always have a good one. I think of SummerSlam 2008 because it's fresh in my mind because I watched it recently. It was like it was the first time. Oh, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. I was thinking, is it the first one in the Staples Center? It might be New Jersey. I can't remember. But they do like it's like a movie theater, and they've got like doors and posters on the Titantron of the matches because that's what people are going to go see. And whenever the match was in the ring, it would say on like the thing now playing John Cena versus Batista. It was a really cool idea. But yeah, all the WrestleManias up until this past one, everyone's different. And like, so as I was saying, oh my God, how can I forget WrestleMania 33 with a big roller coaster? Oh, that might have been the most extravagant one ever.
I know, and you just know that this year's WrestleMania one would have been amazing with the pirate theme.
The big pirate ship. Oh,
yeah. What about all the like Armageddon 2000, like with the cars and stuff?
There you go. There's a good one. Or Armageddon 2008. They just built a big castle.
Oh yeah, when Jeff Hardy won the title.
Jeff Hardy, yeah. So cool. God, and then of course you get the Hell in a Cell ones, and you've got what about King of the Ring 1999? It's like a ladder themed thing because Austin was facing the McMahons in a ladder match. Right. And there's this spot in that match where he pulls one of the ladders and they all fall on top of Vince. So cool. Oh God, the In Your House DX where it's just a big DX letters. The In Your House set with the house. How cool is that?
Iconic. Oh man, God. It's sad, when 2008 came along and they went to HD, and that's when they kind of stopped doing it. Obviously there was a few after that, but that's when they went to HD in 2008. That's when you kind of started to see them phasing out the idea of pay-per-view unique sets. And certainly by like 2010, I think 2011, they were kind of a thing of the past, which is a shame. And I get that it was more cost effective for them, and they often say, and I think I've heard Bruce say as well that those specific sets just didn't look as good in HD. And I can kind of see it because I remember there's a great program that's on WWE's YouTube channel, and you can watch it all on their network as well, called WWE Warehouse. And it's really cool. Joey Styles and the guy in charge of the WWE Warehouse going around looking at old props. And a lot of what he has there is old bits of set. And a lot of the time it's just like bits of cardboard and stuff that they use. They didn't, but it would look worse on HD television, and to make it not look bad, they'd probably have to pump a lot of cash into it. So I do get it. But what a lot of people don't realize is that the SmackDown Fist that appeared in the Firefly Funhouse match at WrestleMania was the original SmackDown Fist. They just dug it out from the warehouse because they still have it. And it assembles in like 2 or 3 pieces. And I think that's awesome that they still have stuff like that.
Yeah. I would pay, I don't have a lot of money to my name, but I would pay a lot of my money to walk around that warehouse. How
I would pay
unbelievable would that be?
I mean, that would be so fun. Like, they do tours of it. You can tour it. I just don't know how you go about it, because you get a lot of like YouTubers like going on the tour and filming it. I mean, how tempting would it be to steal something? I mean, I don't agree with any kind of theft. But like, I'm not talking like stealing a casket or something. But like, if you see a spare iron lying about, so I'll have my ashes in that. Thank you very much.
I'd steal a pencil. This is a pencil from the warehouse.
A pencil. Maybe this belonged to IRS, or whoever. What was the other thing? But I would pay to have, like, we always have that cliche of, if I won the lottery, I would ... And for me, I would buy the SmackDown fist and put it above my bed.
Nice.
I'll have it break through the wall in the same way of the set,
Wee bit of trivia here for you trivia fans out there. The Wrestling Connection logo that we have here for, the podcast and stuff that you're seeing right now, if you're looking at your phone or whatever you're watching, listening to this, it was inspired by the SmackDown fist, of course, with the fist being there between Claire and I.
I love the trivia. Newton John, that was a good one. And let's not forget to give credit to the artist, Jamie Sweeney.
Mr. Jamie Sweeney, thank you very much again. I've not seen him since, actually. I've not seen him in ages. I need to buy him a drink for that. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I love the WWE SmackDown on Fox set that they used for about 2 months before they had to shut down. But I thought that looked really good. Even the Raw one, where they did the whole like reshuffle late last year, but it looks like this massive skate park thing, is really cool. It's different. It wouldn't be my first choice, but it looks good. But I think the SmackDown one looks really cool. But my favorite, I don't want to say favorite because it's not as unique, but because it only happened every so often, was the tunnel that you would get at Madison Square Garden, where it would be like the crowd were literally surrounding the entrance stage, and the lane would be really short, and it would just take a couple of steps till you got to ringside. And I can think, obviously, Royal Rumble 2000 and Survivor Series 02, and that Raw that was in 2009 with Cena and Undertaker teamed up. They lost that runway sort of thing when they redid the Garden in like 2010 or 11 or something, because when I went to New York in 2017, I was actually supposed to be there last week, but Corona and that. But I did the tour of Madison Square Garden. It was one of the things I made sure we did when we were there. Just being like walking out there, and like the Knicks, New York Knicks court was there, and just thinking like, this is where Eddie Guerrero was, and Benoit and Taker and all these people. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, this is where WrestleMania 20 happened, and I'm trying to take it all in, And then I was looking for the thing. I was looking for the tunnel bit, where they would come out, and then the tour guide said that they redid the Garden a few years ago, and they lost it. And I remember Mick Foley saying that it was taken away. And now when they go there, obviously it's just the usual set, but like when they would go there for any show, even if it was WrestleMania, they try and make it a bit more special, So
you can see, I love how they appropriated the tunnel for WrestleMania 20, because they still used the other side of the Garden to build a bigger, more elaborate set. But having the graphic of what match you were watching cool, there, man. And that bit where The Rock and Mick Foley are doing the promo, and he comes through that wee bit was really cool as well.
Let's go see the people, Mick.
I had no idea you'd toured the Garden, because that same trip I was telling you about, where like I ended up watching the CM Punk cash-in. I mentioned that week that I started off that trip in New York. I had 4 days there. It's the only time I've ever been there. Like absolute mind-blowing experience being in New York. It's so amazing, and I'd love to go back. And I remember we were in a cab going somewhere to do something, and I don't know what I was looking at. I didn't have a smartphone at the time. Like, the iPhone had only just been released, I think. But I just happened to look up and out the window, and then we were just on the left. We were just driving past Madison Square Garden. I was like, WrestleMania 20, Royal Rumble 2000, and like my dad's just like, shut up, Glenn, you're not making any sense. And so 20. That's my only experience of getting close to the Garden, but it's just, so it's funny to think that you were there and that you toured it. I remember, not to digress and butcher and appropriate your segment too much, but I remember a few years later, my mum and her husband went to New York just for a holiday, and they decided one night they were going to go see boxing. And nice. I tried to phone my mum, like, because I can't remember what the time difference was. I tried to phone it, and just getting the very muffled, I'm in Madison Square Garden. Amazing. It was Joe Calzaghe was boxing at the Garden,
Right.
And apparently they walked right up to the box office, and my stepfather said, "I'll have your 2 best ringside seats, please." And the woman goes, "Right away, sir. That'll be $2,500." Oh, we'll just take your cheapest seats, please.
I've got so many stories about that day, at the Garden. And if anybody's out there who's going to, be a tourist going to New York anytime soon, obviously do your main attractions and stuff, go to Times Square and all that stuff. But Madison Square Garden tour is so much fun. It's so good, especially if you're a wrestling fan, right? So I went in December of 2017, and this is a tradition that WWE do where they like have a show at the Madison Square Garden like after Christmas sort of time, and maybe like the 26th or 27th of December. So I was there on the 10th. It was my mum's birthday, actually. It was I was on the 10th of December, and I was standing in the foyer about to do the tour of Madison Square Garden. I was looking about and stuff. I was like, I can't believe I'm here. Like, I literally can't believe I'm in this building. And I turned around, and on the screen, they were advertising the upcoming show on the 26th of December, and it was a picture of Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose and Sasha Banks.
Awesome.
And they were sitting there, and I just went, oh, and I ran over. I ran so quickly, and I took like a video and a picture of it, because obviously it was like the screen was like a slideshow, like promoting what's coming up or whatever. Yeah. So maybe only had a couple of seconds, but I was like, there's like a picture of the wrestling in the foyer of Madison Square Garden, and I'm standing here. And on the tour, you walk around kind of like the foyer bit, the concession bit, and I was thinking, oh, this is where Triple H and Cactus Jack wrestled and all that stuff. I was walking around, and they've got a thing round kind of like the border of the roof in MSG. And it's like a square for every day of the year. So it's like January 1st, January 2nd. And on each square is like a historical moment that happened at the Garden on that day. So I was walking through, I was like, this is so cool, reading like the concerts, like the first Billy Joel concert, the first time that Motorhead played or whatever, And I go to March 31st, and the square is the first WrestleMania. Like on the thing in Madison Square Garden, there's a picture of Hogan and Piper. And I was like, that's amazing that they've got the first SummerSlam there as well. And January 11th, 2002 is a picture of Triple H returning. It's just so cool, man. Like that historical moment is in the foyer of Madison Square Garden. Is really cool. And last story about MSG, I could talk about it forever, but on the tour, they go through like the individual things they've got, like the monarchs they've got. Like, here is a special thing so Billy Joel is the person who's performed at the Garden the most. So it's like, here's the jacket that they wore on the last ever performance they did here or whatever, right? So it's like these special moments they've got on the walls and stuff. And the tour guide is taking us round, and he was a very unique guy. He had like a weird walk, and he had a ridiculous voice. It was funny. It was like so New York. And he was like telling us all these different things. And we got to one of the walls, and it's a whole WrestleMania 1 wall. And they've got like Hulk Hogan's belt and Roddy Piper's boots and stuff like that, and his kilt and Mr. T's boxing gloves and stuff. And the guy, like, part of the tour is about WrestleMania. And I'm just sitting there just like, I mean, what is going on? I'm just standing there. I mean, of course, it's December, so I've got like loads of layers on, my jacket, my scarf and everything. I'm just standing there looking at this thing about Hogan on the wall of Madison Square Garden. It's nuts.
Incredible.
It's so cool. So I can't recommend that enough. And I don't think it's that expensive. In terms of the touristy things you can do in New York. Obviously, there's a lot of expensive things, but that was a really special day. Later that night, we went to Broadway, and I saw School of Rock on Broadway, and I was just like, what a day. What a great day this is. So, to digress, my thankful segment this week is I'm thankful for unique pay-per-view sets, and I'm thankful for Madison Square Garden.
Perfect.
There you go. God, well, if I'm all talked out for just now, but if you've got anything else to say, please indulge me.
I really don't. I thank you for this, Chris. This has been a delight. I look forward to every week, and I hope anyone listening to it has enjoyed it. Yes. The only other notable thing I have to announce is that just at the tail end of your Madison Square Garden love letter there, I was looking out my window and I saw a woodpecker, and that's blown my mind because I haven't seen one, I think, ever. Not in a long time. So that was pretty cool. No, it's fine. It's gone now. So now, because my flat overlooks into a park, so it'd be weird just me standing at a park where wee Waynes are playing football. I don't want to be taking pictures. So I'll leave it at that. So, but yeah, that's good. But yes, that is all I have to say. Woodpeckers are cool. Madison Square Garden is cool, and the lyrics to the Big Show's entrance theme is cool.
Yeah, there you go. Another fun one here on the Wrestling Connection podcast. Please continue to show your support and listen and follow and all that good stuff on our social medias. Twitter is at WrestleConnect1 and Instagram is at WrestleConnection. And a wee reminder that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel just by searching the Wrestling Connection podcast in the search engine. You can subscribe for exclusive videos, current wrestling chat, match star ratings, individual moments from the episodes, the full episodes, whatever you want on the YouTube channel. And of course, you can catch me on YouTube, CM42 TV, with videos nearly every single day. So until next time, folks, thank you very much for listening. My name is Chris. This is Glenn. It's been another episode of the Wrestling Connection podcast, and we hope you have a very nice day.